Let me see if we can pass the first test as a Democrat. When I say M, you give me a D. I ask you for M, you give me a D. M, D. M, D. M, D. MD, that's my name, MD. So you got it. It's like a medical doctor. But that's my name, what I was born with. Okay. A young man, I came this country 20 years ago. I ported in. Within 7 days, I walked to a military station. It's called MEPS, Military Processing Station. Within 7 days, I joined in the Army. I came this country to study MBA. I was going to go to FAU, Florida Atlantic University. Instead of doing my MBA, I signed for become a enlisted E4 specialist. It took me only 3 weeks to ship out and went to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I started my basic training, did my AIT, and that rest of history. Year later, I went to Germany. I was in Germany for 5 years. But within the time, the Iraq war started. I've been deployed to Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom. I do have, a harder accent. I speak 6 different languages. Within my time, I was able to complete my MBA, MIS, Computer Information System. I got my 2nd graduate degree in mathematics, a master's in mathematics. I had my undergrad from Bangladesh, which is Bachelor of Science in Biology. Because of my political engagement in back home as a young individual, I got my 2nd bachelor in political science and government. I went to medical school for 1 year. I dropped out, then I decided to come to US and start my new way to have an American dream. And that's who I am. And after that, when I was in war, I know I have seen the other side of the tunnel. I never knew that I was going to be a surviving individual, but you know what? I have been a successful, tremendous individual. Just want to remind you that November 8th, what we have seen 2016, that should not happen in the state of Michigan. We know that Obama has carried over 500,000 more votes than John McCain. We knew that Bernie Sanders, who defeated Hillary Clinton with 18,000 votes, how in the world we come short with 11,000 votes? I have a great plan. It doesn't matter how I talk, but I have a plan. I was a presidential spokesperson from Bangladesh at the age of 17. Give me a chance. I will show you how we make this state and county as a whole great new nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lavora Barnes.
Hi, folks. I'm Lavora Barnes. I am currently the Chief Operating Officer of the Michigan Democratic Party. That means that I run the day-to-day operations of the party, manage the books, manage the staff, onboard and offload all of the folks who come on every cycle to work for us. This cycle is about 300 people we hired to work in the field. And I also designed and implemented this year's 2018 One campaign. So I was the final decision maker on all the things that happened with the One campaign and was thrilled to be able to do so. Thanks. Thank you. A little bit about myself. I'm a mom. I've got two daughters and a son. My daughters are college age. My son is a high school student. We live here in Washtenaw County. I'm originally from Virginia. That's where I got my political start. I had a college professor who ran for office, and I decided to help him and got the bug, and it never ended. I've managed campaigns from city council and mayor and city treasurer, all the way up to helping elect the first African-American governor of Virginia. And we came to Michigan in the early 2000s, met some terrific people here in Ann Arbor, and I'm thrilled to have lived here. My first job in Michigan was with the State House. I was an organizer assigned to Monroe County, where I helped Kathy Anger get elected. And after I worked as an organizer, I was promoted to political and communications director, basically the caucus director for the State House, where I was responsible for making sure we had all the resources to support our State House candidates all over the state, put together a plan to put organizers in the field to support those, worked on each piece of mail, each piece of literature that went out, all of the TV ads, all of that was my responsibility for the State House. In 2012, I ran the Obama operation here in Michigan. Proud to have worked with a great team of folks here to get Obama reelected. In 2013, I went to Oakland County with Lisa Brown, where I was her deputy clerk and register of deeds, helped her run that office and manage that budget for 2 years. And then in 2015, came with Brandon to the party with the hopes of turning around what we both thought was a party with a lot of potential, but really needed some help. Walked through the door and discovered some things about the party that shocked me, and immediately set about fixing those problems. I'm very proud of the work we've done to fix those problems. We were able in 2017 to put organizers on the ground all over the state for the first time in decades for the party. That was the beginning of what became the 2018 One campaign. And that's the kind of work I'd like to continue in 2019, growing the program so that we're not starting flat-footed in 2020, but we've got folks on the ground already organizing and working in 2019 for victory in 2020. I'm thrilled to be here at home in Washtenaw, and I'm looking forward to your questions. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Please hold your applause.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Greg Bowens, and I just want to take a second here to do what wasn't done earlier, and that is, can we have a moment of silence for Lon and the passing of Lon and for the great work that he had done. Folks had talked about him, but I'd like to lose a couple seconds of my time to pay honor to this great volunteer. Thank you, folks. I appreciate that. One of the things that I think is really important to understand is to get some perspective about who we are and what brings us together. There are 7 billion people in the world, 350 million people in the United States, 10 million people in the state of Michigan. And out of all those numbers, it's a miracle that we have been brought together in this room today where we are. I am pleased to be in a room where the saints are working to make things better for everybody. And I think that kind of spirit and that kind of acknowledgement is really important, because when we're knocking on doors, when we're campaigning for people, when we are out there dragging other people to the polls to vote for somebody that we want to support, we're putting our name and our reputation on the line. It's a contract that we make with the elected official. And too many times as a Democratic Party, we let people break that contract. We let people say they're a Democrat and they agree with our platform and they agree with our resolutions. And they'll go to the state legislature and we'll say, we want support for public schools. And they'll go up there and they'll work with Republicans to expand charter schools in direct opposition to what we're talking about. And then when we confront them about it, they'll say, oh, well, you know, my district is kind of this and kind of that and kind of this. But we didn't elect you to do that. We elected you to represent our values. And I think what's really important is to be able to have an independent Democratic Party that reinforces the contract between us as organizers and voters and the people that we elect. Now, I understand that that can make some folks kind of uncomfortable, because I'm sitting here talking about we got to hold the people that we elect responsible for what they said they were going to do when they were standing right here talking to us. At the same time, we need to help those people. They are elected to govern. We are elected to beat the Republican Party. Let's not get the two things confused. I love everybody. Go to my thing, I choose happiness. You'll see it. I love everybody. I think there's room for everybody in the Democratic Party. But you know what? There's not enough room for the foolishness that we have had to endure for the last 8 years. And the Democratic Party does not need to be an extension of the governor, or we don't need to be a staffer in her suite. What we need to be are the kind of people that can be the conscience of the people that we elect. And we need to be the kind of people that are doing the fight right now, today, to help folks. I'll have more about that later. But thank you.
Please hold applause. Lisa Dorado.
My name's Lisa Dorado, and thank you so much, Eli, for contacting me. Thank you for the Washtenaw County Democratic Party and Chris Savage for having me here today. I love the Democratic Party. I'm a passionate Democrat, but I love our party enough to know that we can do more. And today, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a president of the Northville Democratic Club. I'm one of the vice chairs of the 11th. I've kind of done every single job in the Democratic Party. My first job was delivering sandwiches on election day to poll challengers and poll watchers. So I've done a little bit of everything. But I have a vision of what we could be as a Democratic Party. We have so much to be proud of. 2018 was absolutely terrific. But as I'm traveling throughout the area and talking to people, there's things that people would like, things that we can do in addition. And so things like training and party building. Things like making sure we're inclusive. And I'm so glad that Joe talked to me about that today. We have to have these honest conversations. I have a vision of a stronger, more inclusive Democratic Party, a party with a strong message. And I'll tell you, if you give me a microphone for the last couple years, I talk about our message. And Rick hit it out of the park today. That was exactly it. Who are we as Democrats? We have empathy. We care about each other. We care about, we believe in responsibility for ourselves and each other, and we believe in good government. I know we can have that overarching message. You know, Rick spoke more eloquently than me, but that's the same message. We can have that message in our party in an overarching media campaign, training in it. So I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here, and I look forward today to talk to you about some of my ideas of the things we can do.
Thank you very much. Nancy Quarles. Please hold your applause.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Nancy Quarles. I'm going to start off by introducing myself to you. Some of you I've known over the years, but others I don't. I am currently an Oakland County Commissioner, and I also serve as the first vice chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. I began my career in politics like many people. That was back in the days when you stuffed envelopes. You know, we graduated from that. But I started off stuffing envelopes in the Oakland County Democratic Club. I started off by doing door knocking. I started off by helping candidates with the things that they need to learn how our party operates. And why I'm telling you that is it's good when you start at ground zero and then understand how the party has moved forward. From there and from my hard work, many saw that I was eager and wanted to learn. And I never thought about, at that time, running for office. And several people came to me and asked me to run their campaign. I ran a campaign in the city of Detroit for the school board president at the time, and I was very lucky. I won. And then the second campaign that I got involved with was in Oakland County, Southfield, where I live. I ran a person that was running for the local clerk's office. Wasn't quite that successful in that one. But you can take anything and learn from it. You take your losses, you learn, and you grow from it. And from there, I continued to work. I didn't go away. I continued to be active, and I continued to give service. And as I was giving the service, I was asked if I would seek an office for starting with the county commissioner, and then later I became a state representative in Oakland County, representing the southern end of Oakland County. After I went in a little bit before term limits, but was there when term limits went into effect, and I was termed out. I didn't run for office at that time. What I did was I got more involved in my community. I started working with and reactivating various organizations because I believe as a rounded person, you bring a lot more to the table. So I reactivated our chapter of the NAACP, the National Congress of Black Women, and several other organizations. And while I was doing that, I continued my education. I received my PhD from Western Michigan, where I received it in political science and public administration. I now am a professor at Central Michigan. That's my full-time job. But my love for politics, my experience, my political, my community service activity and education, as well as work experience, I think brings me to this position and want to help. And we'll certainly explain more about myself.
Thank you.
The main job of the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party is to get Democrats elected up and down the ticket, locally, statewide, and nationally. That's what the party does. That's what the chair does. In the service of that goal, the chair is responsible for raising the money, setting the program, setting the agenda, and implementing all of that. Because I have been partners with our current chair as COO, my job was the implementation and planning side of that already. I already know how to prepare this party to receive what's going to be an onslaught of 2020 national candidates who are going to come in and try to take over our party. And I'm ready to stand up to them and say, no, we're going to run a Michigan-based party campaign. We're going to hire Michigan folks to work in their communities, to knock doors in their communities, talk to voters in their communities. We're not going to have these kids parachuting in from Pennsylvania to tell us how to run our campaigns. We're not doing it this time. And the reason I get to say that is because I've spent time working on the national level, working here in Michigan, and have begun to understand how those processes work. I have relationships at the national level that allow me to say, nope, not this time, not in Michigan. I've spent this cycle negotiating with the DS, that's the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the DCCC, about how they come into Michigan and work and who they hire here in Michigan. And it's an ongoing process. They all want to come in and bring in the hot shot from out of state because they're convinced that that person knows more than we do about Michigan. That's not true. So the party's chair's job is to protect Michigan and to protect our role as the arbiters of how we run elections in our state, how we win elections in our state, and how we make sure that when it comes time to choosing a candidate, it's a candidate who reflects our Michigan values up and down the ticket, not just locally, but also that national candidate. And I'm excited for the opportunity to do that, and I believe that the experience that I have, not only on the campaign side, but now having been at the party for a while, makes me uniquely suited to bring us through 2020 and prepared to make that happen.
Thank you. Sir.
Me or?
You're next. Yes.
Oh, the same question?
Same
or you got
question.
a different
Yeah,
one?
no, same question. We just everyone gets a chance to answer every question.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. I think that I believe that the job of the chair of the Democratic Party is to push us forward. You know, I love a good administrator. We need good administrators to help things run smoothly, but we need good fighters to be out on front. GM is preparing to go on strike. 4 plants are being closed. We need to be part of that conversation. We need to be out there with them. They need to know, the workers need to know that we support them. We don't need to be sitting up in an office in Lansing. We don't need to be sitting up in the office in Lansing, plotting out our next strategy for 2020. We need to be in the fight today, right now. And I've been doing that since 1995. I was on strike with the newspapers. I helped settle the strike with the musicians. My picture hung at Solidarity House with my kid on his shoulder and a no scab t-shirt thing on. I just finished helping the nurses get their contract after 2 years in a Democratic city with a Democratic mayor and a Democratic congressperson who the mayor appointed the board, and yet they were still having problems getting the contract. And do you know when we would reach out to the elected officials and say, hey, what's the deal? You're supposed to be labor. You're supposed to be supporting people. They would go, well, you know, 2 sides. No, it's not about 2 sides. You're a Democrat. You're supposed to support the people. And that's what I'm talking about, having a chair that can hold these folks accountable for what they do and what they don't do. It's not just a job to come up with a strategy. We're going to win, but everybody needs to come with us. Everybody needs to be dedicated to the Democratic Party. Everybody needs to know that when you put that D next to your name, it means something. And if you're not going to live up to what it is that you're going to do, then we're going to hold you accountable and responsible. There's no point in electing Democrats who are basically Republicrats who don't reflect our values. And so I understand that we are getting people to come in. And I think one of the other things we need to do with fundraising is to build a legacy. We need to grab kids when they're young. We need to start doing camps, because the Republicans, they're doing CPAC. They're doing conservative leadership stuff. And they're grabbing these kids when they're 15, 16, 17. By the time they're 18, they've given them awards. They've brainwashed them into thinking that this is the right thing to do. And we are sacrificing our values. We are the ones that stand for the Constitution. We are the ones that have the open door. We should be reinforcing that. And if we got to get money from wherever we can to start those kind of programs, we need to do that. But we need to have the focus there. Look around this room. You see anybody 15, 16, 17 in here? Any 18-year-olds in here? Raise your hand. Where's one? We got one 18-year-old. Bring some friends, man. But you know what? If we created a structure around him, if we had an open and welcoming environment for him, then it wouldn't just be him. It would be 5, 6, 8, 10 people here. And that's where I think the job of the chair is so important.
Thank you. Lisa Dorado?
Excellent answers. And I think there's one more thing that I've noticed since I began to run for chair. I think the chair needs to be a spokesman throughout all the clubs, especially in the red areas. I've been traveling I went to 18 holiday parties in 14 days. I had a blast, amazing food, and I've been even a little further out to some clubs that are some county parties that are really small. And they treat me like I'm a rock star, and I'm just a candidate. And as chair, I would go to every corner of this state, visiting people, talking to people, representing the Democratic Party, and building up the party. People give you money when they know you. And being the face of the chair, the outside, the shaking hands and looking at them is one good way to fundraise. A leader needs to be a visionary, and we've had some previous people talk about that, and we really have to actually help our party infrastructure, bring back things like training, run precinct delegates programs, and have a vision for a more robust party. I have a vision of 50,000 members over the next few years from 15,000, and that can be done if people believe in something. So the final thing is a little bit difficult, a difficult side of being chair. There are a lot of factions in the party, and there's groups who don't get along. I think part of the chair's job is to be a peacemaker, to bring groups together, to get groups to sit down at the table, to break some bread, to talk about what's going on. Not acting is acting. So when we ignore issues that maybe there's a toxic volunteer, or maybe there's groups that have just, things are said on Facebook and Twitter that are crazy and wrong and not true, part of the chair's job is to bring peace to the party. We must be united as a party, and that would be my final thing to do as chair.
Thank you. Nancy Quarles?
I see the chair's position as the leader of the party. Of course, we know there's political leaders and there's party leaders. The two things that I think the chair is mostly responsible for is, first, is making sure people know about Michigan Democratic Party, and that's spokesperson, educating, letting people know. It has been surprising to me, I guess that's the nicest word I can say, how many people believe just because they vote as a Democrat that they're a member of the Democratic Party, the Washtenaw County Party, and any other party. So there's something that's missing there, and we need to make sure we do that. And it begins with the chair. We must make sure that people understand the value of the party. Not only value, but what's the benefit to you by being a member? And then we have to make sure that we are giving benefits, incentives. And those incentives need to filter down to the counties. You get more people out, here's an incentive. You get more people involved in the party, you will do that. And it's incumbent upon the chair to make sure that we get those parties at all levels to make sure they're out there recruiting people to be members of the party. The next thing, of course, with the chair is to do the fundraising. Many people do not like to fundraise. However, the fundraising is crucial. Next to membership, which is the lifeblood of the Michigan Democratic Party, money is the next substance. And at this point, we need to look at different ways to raise money. And one way is to make sure we are getting our small donors more involved. Let them feel ownership. People are more inclined to give funding when they are feeling that they are a part, or again, there's a mutual benefit in there. So I'll be looking at a number of programs that we can do with the small donor. The message is important. I know for a number of years, working in the Democratic Party as an elected official, as well as a person that wasn't elected, it was difficult to know what the message was. So we had a number of messages out there. Now, we're Democrats. We all have different thought processes, but we need to have a key message to build from. And again, that should come down from our state party. What is our message? Especially as we are looking towards 2020, although I think that much of our attention should be given to 2019. We must win these local elections. And it's at the point that the state party needs to drive that. And that is one of the things I will be looking at and on how I can get it done, is making sure in 2019 we win these local elections.
Thank you very much. If you would pass the mic down to the other end of the table, MD Alam.
You know, excuse me, the MDP chair is the CEO, and he is also the #1 organizer. I want to share a story about myself. 2012, I was the DNC Asian American Caucus chair, and I was running for office. By the way, I'm here last 4 years to attend law school, Western Michigan University. I am about to graduate. I actually finished my JD. I want to recognize 2 people sitting here, Robin Stevens and Gina. Thank you so much for their legal advice, and I worked Washtenaw County Public Defender Office, get my academic thing. So what I want to tell you this, I was running for Secretary of State in Missouri, and I'm a dreamer, by born dreamer. Democrats shut down their door. I drove 50,000 miles. I making sure I drove 50,000 miles, and I get 47,000 votes. 47,000 votes, or 16%. And what I did, I established caucuses. First of all, established Asian American Caucus. In Missouri, 11 counties, I established caucuses. So for Missouri, I moved here from Missouri to Michigan. I'm here now, and I'm going to be here. So this is, as your party chair, no matter how I talk, but what can we do? A person as a chair, I want to give you a number. I want you to take this number as, because I'm a mathematician. 5, 4, if you add 5, 4, that's become 9. So 5, 4, 4, 9. And that's my goal, which is 5,449 young, new faces to include in the Michigan Democratic Party. We have 83 counties. If you take as a chair, you have a discretion that you can establish any standing committee, and that standing committee would be the discretionary by the MDP chair. And when you include people, give them a position, they will feel that they are, kind of by bound, have to perform some of the tasks. When we use the term volunteers is as simple as it is, that sometimes it's not on me. So we understand the time has changed, the technology has changed. It is the time that I will include about 5,000 young people and have them involved in the grassroots to the technology. Thank you
very
so
much.
much.
That's a question right up my alley because as the founder and first president of the Grosse Pointe Harper Woods NAACP, I've been all about reaching out and bringing people in, making them feel included in what we're doing. Because most people don't know. My neighbor, Jane, she was I love her to death. She's a former nun and worked at a hospital. She said, Greg, can I join the NAACP? She's white. I said, of course you can join the NAACP. What are you talking about? But she didn't know. You know what I mean? Because people have their images and their ideas, and they make up stories in their head about what's going on, not really knowing the history. And so I do that kind of work all over the place. Half the branch was white, and everybody else were black and Asian and all this stuff. And we've made a real difference, I think, in the 5 Grosse Pointes in Harper Woods from the perspective of after we formed, now you had a gay rights march. Now you had a women's march. Now you had people standing up and not feeling like they were alone again in a community on the east side. Part of this reflects too, and I think what has happened with African Americans and people of color is that as we have migrated around this state, and my folks came here in the 1800s to Muskegon, so we've been all over the place. But as they migrate out of the cities around to different suburbs, just because you cross Alta Road or move to Superior Township or move to pick your place as an African American or person of color, those issues that you face don't disappear. But yet they disappear as part of the larger discussion about what's going on. We're trapped in this idea of city versus suburbs and black versus white and all this stuff. And I'm really disappointed sometimes with some of our folks even here. In an attempt to be inclusive, what they will do is misrepresent the Democratic Party, the values that we have. Half of the women, half of the people who are chairs of state parties around this country are women. Women. Democrats have stood strong for us. About a fourth, 10, 12 of them are people of color. That's strong leadership throughout this country representing black folks and women, because that's who we are as Democrats. Everybody gets a seat at the table. Now, when I was doing the emergency manager law repeal, I knew that just couldn't be a Democratic thing. And working with the coalition of unions, we created Stand Up for Democracy. It wasn't black, it wasn't white, it wasn't red, it wasn't blue. It was this idea that the emergency manager law is wrong and needs to be repealed. And you know what? We reached out all over the state. We won all but one county. All but one county voted to repeal PA4 with that message of Stand Up for Democracy and we're all together. You know where that county was? In southeastern Michigan. A doggone shame, because that's where the liberals are supposed to be, but yet they voted to uphold the emergency manager law in this one little area. I don't want to dog out any of my neighbors, but you know what I'm trying to say? The emergency manager law was created by Democrats, got supercharged by Republicans, and ended up screwing all of us. And if we're going to win and bring people into the fold, then we have to be radically inclusive. I don't know where the mic is going next.
Lisa Dorado.
Okay.
Thank you. You know, this is a great question. It's kind of 3 questions in one. How do we bring activists into the fold? How do we try to organize throughout the state? And how do we address inclusion? There are so many things we could do. But I think one of the most important things we can do is to trust our local organizers, support our local clubs, bring in party infrastructure to help people who understand their areas do the work. You know, I'm from Northville. It was a totally red as red can be area. And when I started working there, Scott Craig called me and said, hey, Lisa, can you do this? Can you do that? He started to ask me and bring me in. Now, I know we can do the same thing throughout the state. The second thing we did was a ton of training. In the last year in Western Wayne County, we trained 200 people. 200 people. Without spending any money on any money at all, totally a volunteer effort. But what that did was include people. People, once they were trained, they were ready to work. And when we talk about areas that are, let's say, away from the 3 or 4 congressional districts that are close to Southeast Michigan. I know those people, a lot of times they've told me they feel like they don't have any resources and they feel very far away from us. And I know that if we have lessons learned, if we have training, if we have an organized party structure to support them, we can help them. And the last thing I'm going to say, and maybe I said it before, we need a precinct delegate program. Washtenaw County, this club has an amazing precinct delegate program. And when I learned about that, we started to do that in our area too. I created a little precinct delegate handbook, but this is just the facts. It is missing something very important. It's missing, how do you get your list? Because that's something that, you know, we would do one person by one person, creating their list for them and getting them out to do the precinct delegate work. I know we can do a statewide precinct delegate program to help us to bring activists into the fold, to be able to organize in all counties, and also to make sure people are included.
Thank you. Nancy Quarles?
Okay, thank you. The question was, how do we bring activists into the fold, and a couple other parts of that question. I think first and foremost, we have to keep in mind the Democratic Party is a big tent. And we're bringing a lot of different thought processes into place. And when we do that, we have differences. What my first step would be is to look at first step would be is to, no, put it down. Okay, maybe I'll just stand up. My first step would be to look at the different thought processes and ideas. We want people who have very conservative democratic ideas, those that are more liberal. Let's sit down together. I'm not into focus groups. I think if you bring people from various parties, the county parties, the local parties, and just sit at a table, what we will end up coming out of that with is having the ideas and things we can move forward with. And of course, there's going to be that areas that we can't agree on. So I think we should be respectful of each other and agree to disagree with each other. And when we have that pot of ideas, then that, again, helps make our party stronger. It helps get everyone to feel included. Included even if we don't take your ideas, unless you got a chance to express them. You got a chance to hear them. And one of the things that I have found, both as an elected official and even as a professor, sometimes when you hear things from people that you don't normally listen to, it begins to shape your thoughts in a different way. So as Democrats, we don't dismiss any ideas. Let's come together. Let's see how we can work together, come up with an action plan, and move forward. We have a lot of work to do, and we need everybody. We don't want anyone leaning out there and not believing that they're important. Not only that, if we look at the success of 2018, we also want to make sure that all those new voters, for whatever reason they came out and happened to vote Democratic and had Democratic leanings, we want to capture them. We need to now go back and figure out how can we nurture those voters to come back out in 2019 and, of course, in 2020. And that can't be done if we're working with the same ideas. We need the fresh ideas. We need to be receptive. We need to be appreciative. And we need to be open to listen to what others have.
Thank you. Could you pass the mic down to the other end of the table? MD alum.
Since day one, I've been, working and looking at the numbers. Election is just all about numbers. So what I found that 2008, what 2008 outcome 2018 or the replica. It's just a reflection of 2008 is the 2018. What we have seen that Obama had a great margin of about 500,000 votes. And then same vote carried, but we went too short for 2016. We went 11,000 short. But when we look at 2018, this general election, it carried just like about 190,000 more popular voters. But if you take this vote, what our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, get compared to Trump, Trump is still about 25,000 higher. So it's my fear that if 2020 happen and all those haters, red hat, they come out, that number could be aggregated and surplus than the Democrat. What is the suggestion? It's all about number. We lost in Wayne County, where Obama owned more than 450,000 votes than John McCain. And we fall short 11,000. What happened? We know that it was a disappointment. We had Bernie Sanders, a lot of people. I've been traveling, guys. I've been traveling all over. I worked for Bernie Sanders' Muslim campaign chair. I was traveling. What I found that it was disappointment because that so-called some of the people who voted on the primary did not came. That's when we fall short. My idea here, there are 20 counties. Those 20 counties are the one they carried winning or losing. But among those 20, I marked about 8 counties. If you look at the Wayne counties, Oakland, Washtenaw, Macomb, Kalamazoo, Kent, Ingham, and Genesee. Those are the like all double digit, 150,000. And Genesee, this Washtenaw County, they voted 130,000 vote for Democrat, and Republican lost. So this is a hub, I have to tell you. So we need to put all those 10 counties and bring those steering committee. And I hope I will do it even I don't get elected as it is, because 2016, I put 40,000 people in 1 month for Hillary Clinton.
Thank you very much. Laura Barnes?
A couple of things. My experience tells me that the way we get to the activists is to go where they are, which is why I'm committed to continuing our organizing programs all over the state, to have folks on the doors and on the phones talking to folks about why it's important to be Democrats, why it's important to be part of the Democratic Party. And then once we get them and have that conversation, we have to give them something to do. Right? So one of the things I saw Chris do today was say in this room, who's new? And then all of you here who aren't new, find someone who is new, say hello, welcome them. I tell you, my first visit to a county party, it was in Virginia, that didn't happen, right? We have to make sure that when folks show up, we invite them in, we welcome them in, and we give them something to do. So at the state party level, I don't know if you've noticed this, we have committees that don't meet. We have officers that are absent. And I'm committed to holding these folks to a promise to actually participate. If you're going to be an officer in the party, you're going to show up, you're going to vote, you're going to get on the road and visit county parties and district parties all over the state and represent this party. It's the chair's job, yes, but it's everybody's job. And the fact that these folks take these roles and then disappear on us has to end. Committees need to meet. We need more committees. There are absolutely ways we can involve more people in the party by increasing the number of committees and actually having them have some work to do, bringing them in to get to work and help us support this party and grow this party and bring their ideas to the table. These are things that we could have been doing, but we haven't been doing, but we will do if I'm chair of this party. I'm committed to that because I've watched too many people join up and then look around and say, now what? Because we don't have anything for them or because no one has welcomed them in and given them a role, a task, or a job. That's not going to happen anymore. We're going to make sure this party is welcoming and open to folks and that we have meaningful work for people to do, and we'll support them in getting it done.
So I think it was referenced earlier in the panel that we had a very, very top-down campaign. We had silos. They certainly didn't trust the local organizers. And I know even we had our little office in Northville, and I remember contacting some of the people in charge and asking them, well, we need this. We need, you know, can we do it this way? And all I kept hearing was, well, Brooklyn said this, and Brooklyn said that. And how many people heard that time? And I don't care what Brooklyn said. I'm in Northville. I know what I need. And I think we've learned a lot from that election. And what we know now is that we will have the local people, we will trust the local clubs. I mean, my vision is, you know, we don't have an office in Northville. We had temporarily, the Livonia Dems had an office we used, but they don't have that either. But my vision is that the one campaign be the center, the center even socially for Democrats when they're open, so that we can get together. And once you have people together, whether it's doing postcards or maybe phone banking or people who will canvass, once we get people together, then we can actually create a strong, powerful party. You know, being here in Washtenaw, and you have such an amazing, so many activists and so many organizers, and that's wonderful. But I remember when we started, the first time I attended the Northville Dems, it was like 10 people sitting around the table in the library. And we have a lot of small groups that need help. But that's the people that actually need our support more than anything. So to the question about the Hillary Clinton campaign, I think we've all learned a lesson, and I can't imagine us letting it see it again.
Thank you. Nancy Quarles?
With the Hillary Clinton campaign, what was missing is Michiganders. What we did not do is bring in people who understood Michigan. You can have the smartest, the most intellectual, people who won elections around the country and state by state, but we did not have people who lived next door or spent time in the grocery store with folks. So what I would hope in my vision for the next election is to make sure we have people that are trained, start our training now of Michiganders so that they are available at all levels, from the campaign manager, from the consultants, from the people that will be working the field. It is imperative that we do that. In addition to that, we have to make sure that people are being contacted and feel comfortable with the people that are calling them. When you have someone that lives in your precinct, your district, calling their neighbors, they're more likely to listen. And they're more likely to adhere to what they're being asked to do. And that is one of the best ways to get volunteers to come out. You can never have enough people. And when volunteers come out, I want to make sure we have staff, we have the people working in the offices that are welcoming to those people, that they're there, that they're open to the people coming there, and that they make them feel that their service and their contribution is important. And I will make sure that happens in the next campaign, both in 19 and 20. Because if we don't continue to grow on the successes that we have, and we don't continue to nurture the people that came out in this past election, we're doomed for failure. And I know we're not going to fail. We're going to re-elect our senator, capture the House, and contribute to the next Democratic president in 2020. And we're going to do that because we as a party will make sure that everyone feels that they have a role, and they have time, they have a talent, and it is appreciated within the Democratic Party.
Thank you very much. Could you pass the microphone down to MD?
Folks, do you know how many guys out there, they want to serve? It's just simple because they are not delegated to. There are a lot of people really want to get a post, a title, and they want to serve. I have seen that, and I know that. I'm not a good-looking guy. I got 47,000 votes with few people with the techniques that what Obama taught during his 2008 election. I was one of his satellite campaign managers. I was heavily, brutally attacked by Fox News, by right wing, calling me, you know, Bin Laden, Saddam, calling me the terrorist. But people came out to the polls. 47,000 people voted for me on that election. What I'm telling here, folks, I've been traveling all 50 states. In my entire time here in the United States, I am just one of you, a one fine soul, a embody, having high ambition that I want to serve. I know there are thousands of people in my race. They just want to serve. But you know what Lavaro was saying the first day, when I went to first meeting, they shut the door on me. I was crying sitting in my car. But I didn't give up. 2004 to 2012, I attended almost 1,400 meetings. Right now, if Google search my name, you will find about 17 to 20 million documents. Most of them will be negative, as you know that. You know, I have met and sit and work with President Obama. They call him, they call me. They said Obama got connection with the terrorists. But that's all coming from the Fox and right wing. My advice here, that what we need to do, that get that, thing what lack, because Hillary lost. Look, we did not have all county Democratic diversity caucus. A diversity caucus could be anybody from any country. But trust me, all 83 counties, the last county, the least voted Democrat got, it was about 800 some vote. We can find 7 people. We delegate a tax to them. We give them a title. And we tell them you work. It's a fantastic, phenomenal that how the world, cyber world is working right now. My group and I, we collected 200,000 signatures to impeach Donald Trump. My point here, we need the veteran caucus and more other caucuses.
Thank you. LeVar Barnes.
2016, the Hillary Clinton campaign ran a campaign based on poor polling, faulty modeling, and bad decisions out of a boiler room in Brooklyn, New York, rather than a Michigan campaign when they came to Michigan. They never brought us the candidate. They showed up late, and when they got here, they decided the way they were going to win was by turning out voters they'd never spoken to. I don't know what made them think that was the way you win a campaign anywhere, let alone Michigan, but obviously it didn't work. The mistake we made, frankly, was trusting them to come in and run a good race in Michigan. It's a mistake I'll never make again. That's why we built the 2017-2018 program we did to make sure that 2018 came out better, and that's why we're going to continue that work we started in 2018 in 2019 and 2020. When they show up here, because they're coming, they're on their way, they've already started to call, we're already going to have in place a 2020 campaign that's Michigan-based with Michigan workers and Michigan plans, and they're going to have to come on board with us. They don't get to come in and tell us, this is our program, we're going to work in these 7 counties, because that's what they did. We're going to work in these 7 counties, and we're a turnout state. We're not a turnout state. You all know that. People don't turn out in Michigan unless we have conversations with them about why it's important to be a Democrat, why it's important to vote, right? And these people come in here and they're like, we're just going to turn out Detroit and we'll be fine. No. So we're not going to have it anymore. So that's what went wrong in 2016. The steps we took after the debacle of 2016 was to set up Project 83 and hire good folks like Marino Taylor back in the corner to help us organize. Thank you, Marino. Because we knew the mistake that was made while it was happening, frankly. And Brooklyn stopped taking my calls. They didn't want to hear from me anymore. They didn't want to hear me complain about what they were doing. Started calling the DNC, and Donna Brazil would call me. Is it really that bad, LaVore? Yes, it is that bad. Trust me. We're not going to win. But they didn't believe it because their models up in Brooklyn, their magic numbers, said this was how you went, and they couldn't deviate from that. And that's the other lesson we've learned. We learn along the way, right? We use a feedback loop. We're talking to folks on the doors, and we're learning what works and what doesn't work. And if it's not working, we change it. We don't just keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect the outcome to be different. That's not how you win. So when we build the 2020 race, it's going to be just like that. We're going to build a 2016 only bigger, where we build a Michigan-based program, where we take feedback from the doors, from the phones, from the workers, and we change things as we go to make sure that we're running the best campaign possible. And never again do we let a national campaign tell us how we do this, because we're Michigan and we know what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Okay, applause.
Right.
Great going.
Well, that is awesome. You know, Lavora is amazing in that she's been there and she's seen some of this stuff firsthand and had to deal with it. All of us had to deal with it 2016 in our own ways firsthand as well. Everybody in this room is an expert on what happened in 2016. The one thing that I think that we can all agree on is this, is that we lost, and that the reason why we lost is because we had no backbone in the Democratic Party, because we let people come in and tell us what to do. Because when we knew stuff was going wrong, not only did we not just pick up the phone and call them, but we didn't say, hell no, we're not doing that. We're doing it this way. We're going to do it the Michigan way. And so the same people that were responsible for the loss in 2016, that didn't develop the backbone, you excluded, didn't develop the backbone, are suddenly now going to be the backbone? You got to be kidding me. You know, people are out there dying for our help today, right now. Rashida Tlaib is up there taking hell in Congress saying, I want to impeach this guy. She used some different words. I want to impeach this guy. And the Democratic State Party here has said nothing. They didn't jump up and say, that's our girl, that's how we talk in the D. They didn't jump up and say, you know what? I wouldn't have used the same kind of words, but we support her. We didn't do any of that stuff. So don't tell me about how we lost is just sort of this, you know, not right campaign stuff and all that stuff. We didn't have backbone then, and we're not showing backbone today, and we got to change that. Now, I'm nice, and I'm polite, and I love everybody here. But we got to stop being a corporation and start being a community that stands up for each other. That is the deal. Now, the promise of being a Democrat is that we'll never leave you behind, the door is always open for you, and we got your back. Now, if we can't do that, then all this is a waste of time. It's just fun to hang out with some people and talk politics. But if we're going to make some real change, then we've got to be committed to each other. I keep telling you, accountability is a big deal. We have to have accountability between ourselves and accountability to the people that we elect. We also have to have messaging that says, we are with you. And when we say we're with you, we got to show up. We have to show up. Give me 5 people. You give me 5 people for any event, for any city council meeting, for anything that's going on that has a D on their chest and helping the people pass our policies from city council all the way up through the state, we will change this state. But we're not going to do that if we're acting like we're COOs and CEOs and executives in some corporation. We're the workers, people. We're the community. We got to start acting like it. No more COO titles. No more CEO titles. We're getting rid of all that stuff, and we're bringing it back to the people. That's messaging. The final thing that we need to do, I think, is increase membership.
Okay, your time's up.
Oh, my time's up. I didn't see it. You got to hold the red thing higher. I'm tall. I get going. I got a little preacher in me.
I think this word is overused, but I'm going to say it again. We got to get training. We have to put in place a program that will train our precinct delegates on what they're supposed to do, along with putting their name on the ballot. But we must let them know what their responsibilities are and help them. Help them with using our van system. Our van system is not normally open to the precinct delegates, but I think we need to make sure that they have the necessary tools to go out and contact their neighbors. And when they're contacting their neighbors, they need to feel comfortable. And that comes from being better informed. Now, we can have the best trained people, but the next step is we got to get information to them. They need to know what they need to be out there saying. What is the Michigan Democratic Party's message? It may be a slight variation for each county or the local clubs, but in all, they need to know what the message is so that when they're out there talking with them, or I live in a high-rise where there's a precinct delegate, she calls all of us. But she calls us, and she needs to be giving that message to the people in there, the Democrats, so that we know that there's a Democratic Party, we should be a member of the Democratic Party, and we should be out there supporting the Democratic principles and values. And that cannot be done unless we have trained people, unless we have a message, and they feel, and we give them the necessary tools to move forward. Now, once we do that, then we need to start having more gatherings of Democrats, not only here at the clubs, because you know that there's times people are not going to come out, but there's all types of electronics, technology we can use. Let's start using more town halls, and there have been many that have been given. But we need to make sure that people want to hear the Democratic message to the point that it becomes the it thing, as one of my young nieces and nephews told me, that they are so interested in it that they want the information so that they can start sharing it with their friends. We talk about how do we grow the party? The party has to have a purpose. What is the party's purpose? And someone has to be able to articulate it. Who better than the ground soldiers, starting with the precinct delegates, the elected officials? If we all start talking about what the Democratic Party stands for, and first of all, if we all start saying, I'm a Democrat. I tell anyone, I am a Democrat. I don't run for it. I don't run away from it. I come let anyone know that I'm a Democrat. Sometimes I know that there are those who don't think that that should be done, but we got to give them training, message, tools, and be okay to be a Democrat.
Thank you.
This is what I believe. We need an army of social media, and that need year-round. The voting is one day, and then the campaigning is around 3 months. But we need a year-round social media army. They will write one click, and it goes to millions of people within the second. That's how we've been hearing how the Republican Party, the meddling in the election, they created so many fake accounts, pseudo accounts. They cloned and copied and sent to all social media, Facebook, Twitter, all this, YouTube message, everything they sent it. It was fake. But Michiganders, we need to create, and this is I'm pledging to you. I know you got my name, MD, and I didn't tell you what my last name is. I'm going to take my time and make a jokes on my name. It's like an alarm, but it's a false alarm. There is no R. It's not a rated alarm. It's false alarm. So there's no R in my name. What I'm telling you is stay connected. We need to create this army, and surely we will meet. We will work. We're going to be walking and talking hand to shoulder on the street and to the alley, to the businesses. We're going to be calling to the family and friends. The thing we need to do with the delegates, I know 10 of my friends in Hamtramck, they got elected. They don't know, I'm sorry, excuse my language, what the hell to do. They just went there, they put their name, they got elected. They said, MD, what the hell I do? I said, you know what? Let's start talking with Bernie Sanders' project. The project Bernie Sanders gave, it's called the revolution. People are creating real clerk, group, organization, Democrat, no matter what. You're going to be hating me. And whoever got elected, you need to create those 83, county and all the caucuses. I think I had 30 seconds. And these are the caucus I listed, and that's needed to be done. And I know it's been recorded. The Democratic Party needed this. I'm sorry, where's my paper? Okay, we need to have, right here, the Democratic Diversity Caucus, Democratic Veterans Caucus. You can find at least 3 to 5 people. They are voting Democrat in each county. Faith Caucus, Women Caucus, Student Caucus, not but the least, making sure we all put them together as an order of the chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Precinct delegates. It's funny, we were just having a conversation about this just before we sat down here. We've got a plan to bring in an exhaustive precinct delegate manual that will be a statewide manual for precinct delegates for how to run your precinct, how to do the work that needs to be done in your precinct. We all know that we need more training. We need to help precinct delegates do more, understand what their roles are, what their jobs are, how important it is to do the work that they do. We need to appreciate our precinct delegates more. Marino tells me this all the time. We got to be saying thank you to our precinct delegates, buy them a pizza, say hello. The other big thing, though, is we've got to recruit more precinct delegates. If you looked at the list, there are big old holes in it all over the state where there aren't Democrats running for precinct delegates. So one of my goals is to use our organizing team to recruit people to fill those holes so that we have precinct delegates everywhere. Just like we work hard to put people on the ballot for seats everywhere, we also have to make sure we have precinct delegates running everywhere. And then once they're elected, give them the tools they need to do the work that they need to do. You know, my husband ran for precinct delegate for the first time, and the moment he won, I handed him a list. I was like, man, get on the phone, right? Talk to your people, introduce yourself, tell them who you are and what you do. That precinct delegate is their conduit to us, to the party, right? That's where they can go if they've got questions. They want to know who to vote for. They want to know where to vote. And so, you know, my husband's slogging through his list. He's not enjoying it, but he's doing it. And all of our precinct delegates need to be doing that work. And I know here in Washtenaw there's been some terrific training around precinct delegate work. I appreciate that. I know you've tried to export it to other counties. And frankly, some of them have not been as welcoming as they should be of the help and support. And they believe that it can't be done where they are, right? People tell me, oh, nobody wants to organize a precinct in this. That's not true. There's somebody in every precinct who wants to stand up and be the Democrat. We just have to do the work to find them. So those are the goals. Get them trained, get them materials and tools that they need, and then recruit more precinct delegates all over the state so we don't have those giant holes in the precinct delegate list. The Republicans do a terrific job of recruiting their precinct delegates. We got to be more like that. The only place I will be more like Republicans is that we will recruit precinct delegates all over the state to fill these roles and do the important work of organizing these precincts from the ground up, year-round, all the time.
Thank you.
Can you tell me the question again?
The question, actually there were two. One was, how can the Michigan Democratic Party help precinct delegates get information? And in general, how can how can the chair help precinct delegates to get more involved in elections? So there are a series of questions focusing on how the MDP can engage more with precinct delegates.
Okay. I agree with everything everybody said at the table. I think we're all going to say variations of the same thing in some kind of ways. You know what I mean? I will take you back to 1995, though, when my son was born. That year my son was born, I lived in Indian Village. Not Indian Village, East English Village. I never lived in Indian Village. East English Village. And I ran for precinct delegate because Dennis Archer said, everybody on my staff is going to be a precinct delegate. What I didn't know was that I was in a competitive district. So some lady down the street was all mad because I was running. And I said, wow, this is a serious thing. This is like the real deal. And when I won, I was so excited. I was like, I'm an elected official. This is great. I get to do stuff. And then it was like, all that excitement that I had about being elected to an office and in a competitive race with people in my neighborhood and getting the opportunity to say I'm an elected official went completely out the window. I showed up at the party and they were like, yeah, right, get in line over there. You know, here's a list and go on your way. We have to make every part of being elected an honorable thing again. We have to lift those people up. We've got to say more than you're the backbone, but we got to hug them. We got to bring them in. And we can do big, giant swearing-in ceremonies like we do for everybody else. We make it such a big deal for people to get sworn in. You know, we got, what is there, 3 for Congress people? Somebody's in D.C., they're downriver, they're over here. I'm going to one tomorrow. It's like, how many times are you going to get sworn in? You know, we don't do one for the precinct delegates. How amazing would it be to grab all the precincts together, precinct delegates together, and go down the street and get in a stadium and make a big deal about them being a precinct delegate and lift them up and everybody raise your hand and you're sworn in. Isn't that amazing? And then have them live up to those principles and the expectations that we have. Make them just as important as a judge, or maybe not a judge. Well, yeah, a judge, or the governor, or whoever it is, right? Because every little vote counts, every effort counts, and we have to honor it that way. So you can give me a manual all day and tell me to go read a manual over there, and I'm gonna stand over there and read a manual. I'm gonna read for 5 seconds and throw it away. You know, if you're not making me feel special, if we're not making them feel special like they belong, then we don't deserve their help. And that's the issue, folks. I keep saying this over and over again. We don't have accountability to each other because we're acting like a corporation and not a community. You know, there are no paid people on my staff running around here trying to convince you what a great person I am and what a great job that I did. The Democratic Party is not subsidizing my salary so I can run around out here and try and convince you to vote for me to be chair. But that kind of thing is happening now. The Democratic Party did not put up a link for people to be able to even run for leadership until 2 days before the deadline. So if we do that for people that are longtime members, what do you think we're doing for precinct delegates? We got to do a better job, folks.
Thank
and we
you.
could do it. Is it your turn?
My turn.
It's
So
It's your turn.
precinct delegate is so my thing. The first time I ran for precinct delegate, I had missed the deadline, and I was able to be a write-in to precinct delegate. So I made a little piece of paper, gave it to my friends in my precinct, said, "Hey, can you write my name in?" You know, we've done a ton of training for precinct delegates, and even though we have only 44 precinct delegates in Northville, we filled 31 of our seats. And in Western Wayne, we ended up with 200 people taking the precinct delegate training, because it is the same training for all of us. That is training in becoming a political organizer. And I'll tell you what happened in Northville. It was really exciting. I had a new precinct delegate who told me that she was actually organizing her co-op community into like sub-precinct delegates for each building. You know what I mean? That's amazing. That is someone who is truly being a political organizer. I had another woman who was putting Post-it notes on her lit to say, "Hey, call me," you know, when she'd show up at someone's house who wasn't home. I think there is nothing more powerful than your neighbor telling you about the Democratic Party, and we have to do a better job than that. But the one real difficult thing that was actually part of the question: how do we get the information? You know, I have had the van for 10 years. If you don't go into it all the time, you can't run good lists. You can't cut good turf. It is hard. So we have all these people who are trained like Marino, and younger people, or people, some, you know, who know how to run that program. We need to have a place where precinct delegates can get the list, not cut the list themselves, but either get minivan or get a PDF, and that is part of a program of precinct delegates.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Actually, I just have to introduce myself earlier. Took my 3 minutes, but here what we can do is, it is the time, all Michigander, to keep it as a blue. We saw the blue wave. And me, I'm organizers, I am an activist. You will find me. You need somebody who is knowledgeable in computer, who is knowledgeable in data, who has experience to knocking on, driving 50,000 miles and getting those votes. Also, I'm multilingual. I may have just harder accent. You heard about Million Man March in Washington, D.C., 2013. It was done by me. That's when Fox News came and they tried to hang me upside down. Okay? So you have a man right here who is your brother, who is your friend, who you put the work. Trust me, I will do 24/7. I got a call from Eli yesterday at 2:40. I was in New York City. I stayed up all night. This morning, I flew back, and I drove here. That's why my voice is low. Thank you so much. Sorry for my voice. God bless.
Thank you. Didn't know that.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you, Chris, wherever you are. Thank you to all of you for coming out on a Saturday and spending your morning and into your afternoon with us and listening to us here. Thanks to you guys for running, for stepping up and saying that you want to help the party. And then I want to say a quick thank you and I know he's not here, but my family, these folks are awesome, and they put up with a lot of crap from me. So they're going to watch the video, so they're going to want to hear me say thank you to them as well. So my goal going forward is to continue and build on the good works that we have done. I know that we have progress that we can make. I was in Macomb County this week, and we talked a lot about how far Macomb has fallen from where it used to be and all the work we need to do all over the state to help build up even our red areas and then support our blue areas in growing and being stronger. It's my commitment to help this party grow, include more people, be strong, fight hard, and win. Because as I said earlier, my goal, the only reason I want to run this Michigan Democratic Party is because I want to get good Democrats elected up and down the ticket. That's all I want out of this. The rest of it, someone else can do.
You're claiming my time. No, okay, go ahead.
My time is up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine. I'm sorry. My man said he did the Million Man March. Is that like saying I created the internet? I'm just asking. Seriously, I remember the Million Man March and I was there.
I know about it.
Right.
I was up on top of the Capitol looking at it in '94.
Reclaiming my time.
No. Go ahead.
Start the clock over again. No, my man, I appreciate that. Everything that you're saying. Look, if I want you to leave with anything today is to be thankful for this abundance of riches that we have here at the table. This panel, the people that are running, are more diverse than the panel that was before. And those were the people that were doing the campaign, right? How many black and brown people did you see sitting at this table? None. So, if we're going to be a Democratic Party, we're going to have to be radically inclusive in ways that we're normally not as radically inclusive. We got to stop being polite when we see stuff like that and people not being included and start challenging it. Because you know what? My daughter's worth it. Your daughter's worth it. Our kids are worth it. Our grandparents are worth it. If we start walking the walk of the things that we do, then we're going to be a better Democratic Party. Everybody here in this room has put in a lot of hard work. That's the truth. But if there's any one person who is responsible for the victory that we had, that person ain't in this room. It's that Donald Trump idiot who's made everybody so mad that we're coming out and voting in droves. Now, we can't depend on that anger. We got to harness it right now and stay in the fight.
Lisa Dorado.
The first time I went to the Northville Democratic Club, I met a woman named Liz Johnson, a UAW worker. She introduced herself. She saved me a seat from then on. I called her my political mom, and I missed her. I miss her. She was a political organizer, and she made me a political organizer. I didn't want to phone bank, but she got me to phone bank. And that's what I am. And that's what you are here. I know many of you, and the ones I don't know, we are political organizers. So as chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, I will be a political organizer. I will encourage and empower our political organizer, and I will work night and day to elect Democrats through a grassroots party of political organizers.
Thank you. Nancy Quarles.
First, let me thank you for being here, and thank you for the organization, and also thank you for my invitation. I like to end on how I look at the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. And I look at the chair as the political leader. And that person is responsible for several things. One is to make sure that we have a substantial party, members, people wanting to join, people understanding what the Democratic Party is for, as well as doing the fundraising and being the spokesperson. I also see that person as the one who has relationships and will be willing to build on those relationships and do partnerships and strategize. How do we get people into the Democratic Party, from younger people to people with different ideas? We use the word big tent. Let's bring them all in. And that's one of the things I will be working on very carefully to do. And then lastly, I want to thank you again, and I certainly ask you to consider me when you cast your vote, and in return, I will be open and available to you.
Thank you so much. I want to thank all the candidates. Thank you.